Hi there, my name is Peter Willett. I'm a math teacher at Diablo Valley College, and if you're watching this video, it probably means that you've signed up for one of my online math classes. So thank you for signing up for my class. What I'd like to do in this video is discuss the idea of taking an online math class and how best to succeed. Now, there will be another video that has details about the specifics of this online math class that you've signed up for. But what we're going to do in this video is talk a little bit more generally about the class and give me a chance to introduce myself to you. So again, my name is Peter Willett, and I've been a full-time math instructor at Diablo Valley College for 20 years now. And I've taught quite a few online sessions of math. And typically, an online math class for many students can be more challenging than the face-to-face version of the same class. So why is that? Well, what's missing from an online class is the opportunity to get together with your classmates and me face-to-face and go over the material. And so without those face-to-face get-togethers, it makes it a little harder to ask all the questions that you might normally ask. To get an explanation live where you can actually just immediately raise your hand and ask a question is important and helpful. Or to lean over to your colleague next to you and say, what did he mean by that? Or I'm confused by that, so that you can discuss the challenging issues in the class with your colleagues regularly. Now, we can try to overcome the lack of those face-to-face sessions. And that's one of the main things I'd like to talk about today. How can we do that in an online math class? So first of all, one of the best things you can do is to try to be very, very organized about your work, your strategy, and your plan to learn about the material and succeed in this class. So what do I mean by that? Well, one of the things that you would get regularly if we did have these face-to-face meetings is that in person I would remind you about the due dates of upcoming assignments, and I would discuss how to prepare for an assignment or for a quiz or for a midterm or something like that. So without those regular reminders and hopefully what would have been motivational promptings by me to get organized and prepare for assignments, you have to do a little bit more of that on your own. And being very, very aware of when things are coming due and making a plan to strategize how to prepare for them and be ready for them is where a strong organization will really help a lot. So for example, all of the information that we're going to be working with in this class can be obtained and is available through our Canvas site for the class. So regularly returning to our Canvas site will help remind you and keep you up to date on what the upcoming assignments are about and when they're due. So I would recommend that you visit our site daily. But even on top of that, if you have any calendar that you use outside of what's available in class that you just use for your day-to-day life, for dentist appointments or for anything, meeting with friends, it might be really good to set important due dates on there as well. And then that will remind you to go back into Canvas and make sure that you're on top of things. Now, let's say you're well organized and you have assignments and you're trying to learn the material. The next thing I would point out in an online class is that you're a little bit more limited in your ways of reaching out when you need help because, again, we don't have these regular face-to-face meetings. So you want to make yourself very aware of all the ways you can get help when you need it in an online class. So for example, I'm definitely going to try to respond to emails on a very regular basis. I'll be checking my email every day. But sometimes when you're sitting there struggling with material, having me get back to your email that you sent me on 4 p.m. the next morning is too late. And so what are your options perhaps to get help and reach out for help in a more prompt way? Well, the one thing I'd like to point out is that there will be discussion boards for all of the primary topics in Canvas where students can talk with each other as you're working on assignments and work out problems together, as if you were trying to work on something in class and you reached over to discuss it with your classmate next to you. As well as the fact that DVC provides tutoring, both online and face-to-face in the math lab. and that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can get tutoring help via Net Tutoring. The Net Tutor link is again on our Canvas site, and we'll be discussing that more later. So definitely you don't want to begin to feel so isolated when you're working on the material for our class because it's online that you don't feel you can reach out for help when you need it. In fact, you'd like to regularly hopefully be involved with discussions with your classmates, maybe even with study groups that meet regularly. Again, another thing that would be good to organize. And then, of course, be well aware of how you can try to get help from me and from tutoring when needed. So finally, I'd like to mention that being well organized, reaching out when you need it, is one of the ways to try to help succeed in the class, and that the number one way that students typically fail to succeed in a math class is that at some point they fall behind on the material and they're just not able to recover. And you may have experienced this before. If you've taken a typical face-to-face math class, maybe your life gets very busy and you fall a week behind on the material. It's quite common that you might come into a class being a bit behind, and all of a sudden it feels like the instructor is speaking a foreign language, that you can't even really follow the lecture anymore because new vocabulary has been introduced, or the ideas that are being discussed kind of depended on what was done in the last class and you missed that, something like that. And once you fall behind in a math class, it's often very hard to recover, and some people never do, and they fail to succeed. So what is the best defense against falling behind? To get ahead. So I've tried to set up the structure of this online math class to give all students the opportunity to get as far ahead of the due dates as possible. For example, all of the due dates for all of the assignments and access to those assignments are available right now. So if you go into Canvas and you look things over, you will see when the next assignment is due, and when the assignment after that is due, and etc., when all the assignments for the entire semester are due. And you can work on any of them right now. So for example, it's often the case toward the beginning of a class that the material hasn't become too challenging yet, especially when we're reviewing perhaps prerequisite material. Well, during that time, if you're not feeling challenged, that would be a great time to hit the ground running and get ahead. Try to get through and get great scores on the assignments that are due right now. But maybe even a week before it's due, or a week and a half before it's due, start working on future assignments. Start looking at that material in the book. Maybe even watch some of the instructional videos that are available. Find out about your resources for getting online instruction, like the Khan Academy or YouTube, or the videos that are provided by our publisher site. And work ahead. Imagine that there is a very challenging topic for you in this class. There probably will be more than one. But let's consider the first one that you might really be challenged by that might prevent a challenge to your success. Well, let's say that you look into it and you start to see how challenging it is, but it's not due for 2 weeks. Well, that gives you a lot of time to recognize the challenge, to start to work on what you need to do to overcome that challenge. Maybe that's to reach out to me. Maybe that's to watch some extra videos or to get help from tutors. But that if you had a full 2 weeks to overcome that challenge and you were organized about how to do that, you would have a great chance of doing that. Whereas, in comparison, if you found out about this challenging topic 3 days before the assignments on it were due, you just might simply not have enough time to overcome that and do well on those assignments. And then that could begin a spiral down where you're trying to catch up on that material, but then you're falling behind on the next material. And sometimes that's just too hard to recover from. So the best defense against falling behind is to get ahead. All of the online assignments for this class are now available, and there's no limit as to how far ahead you can get on those assignments. And then you can find out about your challenges with still enough time to overcome them. And if you can maintain that throughout the semester, getting ahead when the material's not overwhelming you, finding out about challenging material in advance enough of when it's due to overcome it, using the options available to you, and then to continue forward, you can overcome all the challenging obstacles in this class and succeed. My job is to help as many of you succeed as possible. I want to do that. And for that reason, I've set up a structure in this class that I think will give you the best chance possible to get ahead on the material and find out about challenging topics as soon as possible so that you have time to overcome them. So let's hit the ground running. Let's try to get ahead from the very start. Make sure to get answered any questions you have about how to succeed in this class, how to access the material, how to get help when you need it, and of course on how to do the math problems that we're all going to need to do in this class. So again, thank you for signing up for my class. I invite you to get started right away and hit the ground running, and I look forward to working with all of you in the months ahead. Thank you.